Hey guys, it's Myles here again for the 5th time, and well, you know the drill, so let's get stuck in.
World Trade Center 7, having all that information from the CIA and all those people in it, and that building just comes down free fall speed, not even hit by anything. First building ever to fall from structural fire.
One of the arguments that 9/11 truthers often say is that World Trade Center 1, 2 and 7 were the first steel frame structures to collapse because of fire. Ignoring the fact that buildings 1 and 2 had massive planes going to the side of them, are they right about World Trade Center 7? Is it the first ever steel building to collapse because of fire alone? Well, a little bit of research shows that actually, in the past, many steel frame structures have collapsed because of fire alone. These include Dogwood Elementary School, Windsor Tower, and a Faculty of Engineering building. But you know what, these examples take a while to find, so if only there was another example of a collapse or a partial collapse much closer to home, say like World Trade Center 5. Yes, believe it or not, truthers, there was a World Trade Center 3, 4, 5 and 6. I know, sounds crazy. World Trade Center 5 was a 9-story building that stood east of the North Tower. The building was actually the least damaged of the complex, but suffered partial collapse due to impact from steel debris falling from World Trade Center 1, and due to fire. 4 floors inside the building collapsed when some of the connections between the structure and steel beams failed. It amazes me that 9/11 truthers say that steel structures can't collapse due to fire alone, when there is another example in the World Trade Center complex, but I'm sure truthers have a reasonable explanation for the damage of World Trade Center 5, say like a Star Wars beam weapon. Yeah, I just want you to absorb that for a sec. A death laser from space. And I'm not making this up, some people actually believe this. But I think I'm getting off topic here. I'm not going to talk about death lasers. So, back to World Trade Center 7.
And what interesting, you're from England.
Yep.
The BBC had a reporter on the day
Oh,
of
I know.
9/11
That was a bit
who
of
reported Building 7 collapsing at 5 o'clock. And it was there in the background, still standing.
It came down at 5:20. So she got her CIA information wrong. Anyway, all we have to do is look at this solid steel. Look at that. And we're standing on concrete. It doesn't burn.
But no,
it
going
doesn't
back.
disappear in 10 seconds. Those buildings had steel girders the size of you and me. How could they suddenly disappear in 10 seconds?
Oh, no, sorry, going back a sec, are you saying that the BBC are talking to the CIA and they were giving information to each other?
Whoever supplies the news resources for the major networks, the BBC was getting it, and they reported too soon.
Yeah, it could have been NSA. I'm not sure exactly who gave them the false flag news feed.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy. There's almost a sense downtown in New York behind me, down by the World Trade Centers, of just an area completely closed off as the rescue workers try to do their job.
Now, I love the BBC. How could you not love a corporation who gave the world Doctor Who? But I know they're not perfect. And they were not the only ones to get their information wrong that day. Others reported that bombs were found, Flight 93 landed safely, etc, etc. But what are they really suggesting here? That the BBC, a foreign broadcast corporation, were in on it? What would they hope to get from it? A company whose main source of revenue primarily comes from a TV license. A license that you have to pay by law if you have a TV capable of picking up signal. What about the civilian employees at the BBC? How could they keep them from spilling the beans? Did they sit them down and make them swear an oath of secrecy under a picture of the Queen? And what would be the point of telling the media in the first place if you did such a fantastic job making it look like 2 planes crashed into 2 buildings, a collapsed, and I honestly just don't understand. So what else do you have, truthers?
Silverstein, the guy who owns the buildings, went on record and said to pull it.
But
what did he mean by that?
I think he says afterwards that he meant just to get rid of people out there. To go away from it, because it was creaking, it was making noises, and they already had so much loss of life already on that morning that I guess he thought it'd be better just, you know.
Who's he to make that determination? He's the person that owns the building. He's not like a safety inspector.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
So apparently Larry Silverman said, pull it, but if you watch the original video, he's clearly talking about getting people away from danger. And the most interesting part about watching the video is it's not a direct quote from 2001, it's a year later with him in an interview. He's quoting himself. And not only is this woman at Ground Zero taking the quote completely out of context, she's also getting it wrong. He never said he was the one to make that decision to pull it. He says they made the decision to pull it, meaning someone else did. But even if he did say pull it, and he meant to bring it down by controlled demolition, what does this even mean? Does it mean that he ordered firefighters to go into a burning World Trade Center 7 to set up quiet explosives that are undetectable and leave no trace in a matter of hours? Did you mean that World Trade Center 7 was already set up with explosives, and he was telling people to set it off? Do all buildings in Lower Manhattan have like a Star Trek-esque destruct system? But why? Why bring down an empty building hours after the main attack? How does a planned demolition of one building prove that the Twin Towers were deliberately brought down? What would anyone get from this? How does the collapse of World Trade Center 7 prove anything?
Okay, my question would be though, why do you think Building 7 though particularly? I can kind of see maybe if there was a conspiracy theory going on that like buildings 1 and 2, but why do you think 7?
Why do I think?
Yeah.
I mean, I could suppose that it had something to do with the residents of that building, but I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know why they would bring Building 7 down. I don't.
Okay, and what do you think that leads on to though? Like if you're here just saying remember Building 7, you must be implying that it must be some reason why.
I want to know why a building fell without being hit by a plane. You know, a building just can't fall down because of fire. The structure would still remain.
The official explanation from this is normal office fires. That's the man's words. His name is...
That's why a steel skyscraper collapsed.
But what does that mean though, that this one building that wasn't hit by a plane, what are you inferring by that coming down?
The implications are that it could have possibly been a controlled demolition.
I wish you agreed to go on this.
We're simply saying that the official story is not true. If the official story is not true, then common sense says we have a big problem here.
If there's information in there, it's best way to just get rid of it.
I would say no, because like a shredder is perfectly good and you can destroy stuff really easily. I mean, leaving it in a pile where hundreds, thousands, if not thousands of people came down here the next day to help out, and they'd be rooting all through this kind of stuff. And the last thing you want is a load of tickets for planes, receipts and stuff like that. So maybe the best way wouldn't be to demolish a building. Again, it seems very Bond villain-esque, like, to do that kind of thing.
It seems an extreme possibility to me, man. I don't know. I don't trust these people that are in power. I don't, you know?
Other than the most inefficient or elaborate way of destroying data, the truthers came up with nothing. Or they danced around the question and answered something else. I found this absolutely astonishing because they kept talking about it as if it was, well, they said it was the smoking gun. It proves everything. But what does it prove? And this was my first question, and it should be the first question of every logical thinking person. What would be the point behind it and what does it show? And they can't answer it. The second question should be, what is that picture you're holding?
This is my old penny. Never forget the pet goat. The pet goat is like a symbol of the devil. It's an agenda to roll over Iraq and create war. As the criminal plane goes this way, the air defense went that way. How could the Pentagon be attacked? The most protected building in the world, because it was a stand-down. When this man was sitting in a photo op for 20 minutes, he should have been whisked out and the school evacuated because if it was a legitimate attack. But he's on record of saying, oh, when I saw the first plane went in, because they had monitoring it, and they'd made this whole thing happen. We know this. The world knows this.
Okey-doke.
It's pretty obvious.
I always subscribe to the cock up before conspiracy line, which maybe I know when he was reading my
conspiracy. Yeah, they conspired, but we're not. We're truth activists. We're into evidence. We have a pile of evidence and truth versus their smoke and mirrors.
So what is this truth you speak of? What evidence do you have, or lack of, regarding the attacks at the Pentagon?
But it wasn't a plane, it was a torpedo because there was no cadaver or fuselage at the Pentagon.
When he says torpedo, I think it means a unmanned plane or a missile of some type of drone.
But they actually have parts from the plane. And
no, not really.
Why haven't they shown it?
Well, they showed the 5-frame clip.
5 frames, but all the videotape were sequestered and are under seal. The video of that day are not allowed to be seen by the public.
But
and what's more,
those 5 frames do not show a plane. Even Fox News saw that footage and said, I don't see a plane there.
Yeah, this is a recurring thing from truthers I really dislike. Basically it goes, if there's no video of an event happening, then it didn't happen or something dodgy is going on. For example, there's no footage of the collapse of World Trade Center 7 from the south, so I guess it must have been brought down by some controlled demolition or something. There's no footage of fireballs going down the elevator shafts in the World Trade Center Twin Towers, so I guess it must have been bombs. And there's no footage of a plane hitting the Pentagon, so I guess it must have been some kind of missile. But is there actually footage of the plane hitting the Pentagon? How about these 5 frames he was talking about? Well, first, let's have a look at the path the plane actually took before it hit the Pentagon. You can see that it actually hit 5 lampposts before actually finally crashing into the side of it. And somewhere along the line, one of these lampposts actually damaged part of the engine and a lot of smoke started to come out of it. But is there actually footage of the plane hitting the Pentagon? The footage clearly shows something with the dimensions of a plane and a large fin coming into shot. Now, to my knowledge, there is no torpedo or small missile the size of a plane. And remember, this thing was pretty big because it hit down a load of lampposts before actually hitting the side of it. But what do truthers say when confronted with this?
Well, what about the lampposts? The plane, when it came down, didn't it hit about 5 lampposts, and then it hit a generator as well, I think?
But you know, we just saw a report by a researcher named Barbara Honegger, who explained that scientifically, if a plane had hit those posts, those planes were reported to have fuel in the wings those tanks were full.
That's what mainly keeps it, yeah.
And if those planes going at that speed and hit those lampposts, there would have been huge explosions from the wings.
Well, from the 5 frames, if you kind of work out if there's a plane there, it does look like it's quite badly damaged. The plane as it's hitting it's giving off a lot of white smoke, if you say it exists.
Okay, let's talk about that smoke. When a plane is taking off, you don't see smoke at that level.
No, but I'd say it was because it was damaged that one of the jets was giving off quite a bit of smoke, and that's why some people say, well, it did hit these things, and there was evidence that it showed it.
The funny thing is, though, to believe that a missile hit the Pentagon and it was ordered by the American government, you have to believe that a conversation like this must have happened. So I'm just checking, have we got everything sorted for these attacks that we're going to, do on September the 11th? Yes, we do, sir. Okay, cool. So just to check, we have the buildings in Manhattan, the 2 Twin Towers. We have them hooked up with this super duper nanothermite that is untraceable and undetectable, and also doesn't have barium nitrate and doesn't need elemental aluminium. We have that sorted, do we? Yes, we do, sir. Oh, that's amazing. And, I don't want to be cheap about this. It is the overly expensive kind that, is really inefficient and leaves about 0.1% of the starting material in the dust. Because, we don't do things by halfy. I want to, I want it to be lavish. Yes, we do, sir. Oh, and remember, Cheney, this is very important. We have to hook up World Trade Center 7 with the same stuff. That's very important, Cheney. I can't stress that enough. We need the same stuff to be in that building over there as well. You got it? Yes, sir. I've done that, and I've also told the owner of the building about it, and a few news people, so they can report about it when it finally collapses. My only worry about that is that someone might, accidentally let it slip a little bit early. That's a mighty fine vice presidentsmanship you've got going on there, Cheney. Mighty fine. Well, thank you, sir. Okay, cool. Well, we've got it pretty much all sorted. We've got one plane hitting the field and another one hitting the Pentagon. We are done. And, oh, yes, sir, about that, yeah. Bad news. Our budget doesn't stretch that much and we can't afford a fourth plane to hit the Pentagon? What do you mean we can't afford a fourth plane to hit... What? What do you mean we're bloody America? How could we not afford a fourth plane to hit the Pentagon? I know it's the budget, sir. We just don't have the money. What? This doesn't make any sense. This is the most complicated plan anyone has ever done. Sorry, anyone in the world has ever done. And you were telling me that at the last moment, we can't afford a fourth plane to hit the Pentagon. I mean, bloody hell, Cheney. I know, sir, but I have a way around it. Well, fine. What is your way around it? We're going to fire a missile into the Pentagon. A missile. Oh, I heard you. Yes, yeah, I heard you. Yeah, a missile. Bloody hell, Cheney, how is that going to work? A missile looks nothing like a plane. They're a lot smaller. They explode with explosion stuff. People are going to be seeing this and saying, hey, that wasn't a plane, that was a missile. And then they're going to think, where did that come from? I know, sir, but this is fantastic. We have this new missile technology that when you fire it into a building, it will actually take out all lampposts within a certain vicinity. It's very high-tech, sir. Okay, well, at least that's something. Also, sir, it has a massive fin and is the same dimensions as a plane. Oh, okay, well, that's it. What, we can afford this massive missile, but we can't afford a plane. I know it sounds odd, sir, but it's the way the budget works. You see, we have a lot of money for paying off people like firemen and New York Police Department people, and also we have some money set aside so in 11 years' time, YouTubers can make videos about this kind of stuff to, you know, we call them disinfo agents. But what, we just don't have enough money for a new plane? That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And what's going to happen, you know, when people look at afterwards? They're not going to see wreckage of a plane. They're going to see wreckage of this bloody torpedo-y thing. Oh, it's okay, sir. We got that covered. We are going to have a load of actors outside, which we're going to actually give parts of a plane to. And so when the media comes, beforehand, they would have dropped it on the floor and say that they saw a plane hit it. But hang on a sec, where are we getting parts of a plane from? Oh, we have one in storage, we're going to take it apart. Wait, what? We can't afford a plane, but we can afford to damage and destroy a plane and some massive missile plane, and this doesn't make any sense, Cheney. Trust me, sir, no one will see this. You know, it's perfect. It will be perfect, sir, just trust me. Can't we just, you know, smuggle in a nuclear weapon into the country that we want to invade? No, I don't think that'll work at all, sir, no. Anywho, guys, that's the end of part 5. Only one more left, thank God, and I'm barely in it, which I'm sure a lot of you will be happy about. Anyway, as always, if you like what I do, remember to subscribe and like, and remember to leave me a comment about what you think about this video. Anyway, I'll see you guys when I see you next. Bye.
Pick your reader up from under your seat. Open your book up to lesson 60 on page 153.
Wow, I can't believe Cheney's plan is actually working. It's sad when a president has to attack his own country. And I can't let them think that I murdered all those people. They would put me away for years. I can't let them know that I let a missile hit the Pentagon or I blew up the Twin Towers with thermite. They'll call me a monster. Look at those cameras, watching me. As if I could do anything but sit and stare. They know I can't even move a finger, and I won't. I'll just sit here and be quiet, just in case they suspect me. They're probably watching me right now. Well, let them. Let them see what kind of person I am. I'm not even going to swat that fly. I hope they are watching. They'll see and they'll know, and they'll say, why he wouldn't even harm a fly.